So guys, yeah, just gonna make a post video. I was gonna make one before, after we had the bounce, but I just was kind of taking a day or two off. Thought I had good entries. However, now we're kind of losing some of the upwards momentum, and the volume since last night is not looking really strong. So I just wanted to cover a few things first. You guys should need to keep in mind before you start looking at charts. And a lot of you have seen this already, and this was definitely we definitely experienced euphoria that day before the crash, because every altcoin was doing like 100%. Everyone was like, oh my god, this can't be so easy. Everybody thought they were a genius. At this point I was just like, wow, like if this isn't euphoria, I don't know what it is. What is. And then the futures hit and we went down, and then we bounced up a bit to 18,900, and then we started to chop it up down, and then we experienced this during the flash crash. But maybe I think the general market is still in this maybe denial panic stage. My investments are great. You're hearing a lot of things about Bitcoin's fundamentals or whatnot right now, and we experienced this with that short squeeze, no, with that bull trap, whatever you want to call it, the dump. And then I think now the overall market, that was just like 8 hours, right? That big sell off. The overall market I think is more in this stage right now, where people are feeling anxiety. There's the denial and there's the panic. And in times like this, like if you're not an experienced trader, preserve your capital. You know what I mean? Try to keep as much money as you can, safe. And it's Christmas time. Like, enjoy your Christmas. And if the price recovers a bit more and you have to buy it a little bit higher, so what? Like, preserve your capital, because you're preserving your capital, and you might really experience a really good buying opportunity if Bitcoin doesn't hold its structure, which with the volume we have right now, it's I don't know, like I don't want to say like, oh, like we're gonna get fucked, but volume is a very good indicator, follow through volume, and we're not seeing that. So I just wanted to, before I got into the TA, I wanted to explain this to you and kind of be aware of this, because a lot of people in the market, they're not aware of the emotional aspect of it, and this is playing a big part, because this is a reason why we just shot up to 20K. People were just delusional, and then now this is definitely where we're at. I just feel the energy coming off people. It's a lot of anxiety, like, oh shit, what do I do here? You know what I mean? This is where people realize like trading is not a joke. Like over here they think like, oh yeah, let's become traders, it's so fucking easy, you know what I mean? But now they realize like, oh shit, this trading thing, I don't know about it. Now they start doubting trading a lot more, because this feels great and this feels awful. And when you feel pain in the market, you have a pain tolerance, and once that pain tolerance becomes too high, you're willing to take your loss. So as it goes down and down, you're creating more and more pain, and then when the pain becomes too much, you say, fuck this shit, take my money, I don't care, I just want to stop feeling like shit. You know what I mean? You're driven by that feeling, just to get rid of that feeling. I just want to get rid of that fucking shitty feeling I have. And people in the market, they understand this, so they just pile on the pain to people, and they understand the greed, and they pile on the greed, and they get people on fucking CNBC to just suck Bitcoin's dick all week, and you start to think that, yeah, if I buy a $20,000 Bitcoin, I mean, it's obviously going to 1 million, so I mean, why not just buy 5 and max out my credit cards? Like, these people have a lottery ticket mentality. You know what I mean? Over here is like, at these prices, and even below, if we go below, this is where you should have your kind of lottery ticket mentality. When Bitcoin was 1 cent or $100 or $1,000, like, that's when your lottery ticket mentality needed to come into place. But as we know, with most people in the market, they just come into the market to give their money over. They don't really come into the market to make money. That's not their purpose. Their purpose in the market is for them to come, put in their money, and then for other traders to take it from them. That's their sole purpose of the market. It sounds incredibly fucking evil and cruel, but it's just like a that's just how the market is, man. Fuck it. There's not this pile of money that just keeps pouring out of some rich guy's asshole, and he's just a charity for fucking every pleb, you know? It just doesn't work like that. Well, all right, anyways, we got that out of the way. Just two things. Once again, manage your capital, manage your emotions, and just chill out. Just let the moves play out the way they're supposed to play out. You know what I mean? Don't chase prices. Don't do stuff like that. If you have to buy a little bit higher with confirmation, that's fine. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. If you have 10 Bitcoin and now you're going to have 9.5 Bitcoin, like, that's fine. Like, don't worry about it. You know, it's a long-term game, you know? Like, yeah, you lost 0.5 Bitcoin today, but then when the market recovers, you're going to have fucking 11.7 Bitcoin. So all your losses are going to be temporary unless you fucking totally wipe yourself out, and then you're out of the game. You don't want to be out of the game because you were too stubborn to put a stop loss, or too, like, fucking stubborn or arrogant to, you know, just take some profits along the way and take a little bit of a loss. Like, you know, there's been times like you'll have like a $300 loss, and you're so stubborn for that $300, it turns into a $3,000 loss. That fucks up most traders. And let's just get back into the charts now, though. I am pulling up Bitfinex. Let's go to this one screen, and I am going to erase everything and just draw it from the beginning, so you guys can kind of see what I did and take it from there. So before I get into anything, I just want to point some things out. So the 1-day MACD is looking like it's churning, but if this keeps dumping, it's just gonna get bigger. We have 3 days about to touch, you know, so we could have that's why I'm saying now with New Year's and Christmas, I just don't expect the volume to be there anymore, and I feel like we could probably go test the thousands again, 8,000 specifically, and I'll get to all that too. I just wanted to show some of the higher time frame indicators. So that one, and then what I'm really looking for is the 1 week. The 1 week has touched and then gone on to all-time highs. So I mean, maybe in the first week of January we get a touch. And looking back at 6 hours, I just want to kind of go over what happened during the night. So we had this bounce down here. We came down to 10,700. 12 hour. We touched the 12-hour cloud. Now we're touching the 12-hour cloud again. And from here, you got to see if the price can stabilize itself and stay above this cloud and start to move, you know. However, looking at why isn't this? Yeah, looking at the volume though, there's just so much more selling going on. Higher sell bars. The sentiment isn't there. You know, people are scared as a whole. I feel like these bounces could have just been scalp volume, where people just understand there's going to be a huge bounce and they just buy with the bounce and take profits. We are trending very, very steep. You know what I mean? If you look at the volume profile indicator, this basically shows you how much volume has come in at what price. And this area is actually some of the weakest areas for volume. Last night I had was showing you guys how we went from the bottom of the move up, and let's just get it going out. Yeah, so we bounced off the bottom, we came up, and then we retested. We retested the 50 fib, and I felt like that was a healthy pullback. You know, like last night, I wasn't really too worried, but when we bounced from that, I noticed like the volume just wasn't picking up. And overnight, we broke through, and we went right through the 0.618 fib. And usually, like if that doesn't hold, I kind of think like, okay, now this is really starting to get weak, and we hit the 7.786. We came up, tagged the 0.618, but now the 50 fib area, like half this move, is starting to become resistance. We're starting to push above it. We'll see what happens, but just that volume is just not there. You need like these big giant volume sticks to follow through. You don't want to see each volume stick getting less and less and less and less and less. Usually that's when I take a cue a lot of times too. Sell half my position or whatnot. And sorry. And yeah, I'm just seeing from here what happens. Now, there were some uptrend lines. Switch back to the day. And one thing I want to put out here, and I'm gonna touch it at the end. At the end, I'm gonna go through support levels and what levels you want to be looking for potential re-entries. Right. Look, I deleted my lines. I'm just trying to see if I can draw them out again. So when we came up, we found this one line, right? We went up to 2,600, it didn't work. We went up to 3,000, we couldn't get through, right? And then we went up to 5,017, we couldn't get through. We went up to 5,825, 6,000, and then boom, we broke through it. We fell through it, we came back through it, and then we just carried on with this big move. This line, there's an 8,000 zone here with a gap. Yeah, like there's a gap right here, right? So this is a area where I think we're gonna have a really good bounce, and not just because of this gap, but just because all over the internet, social media, all the traders, they're all kind of anticipating this zone to get into between 8,200, 8,700. So you want to scale your orders in here. You don't want to put like one bid at the top. You want to put like, for example, say let's just use one Bitcoin as just a number, just to make it simple. You know, you would put 0.2 Bitcoin here, maybe put 0.3 Bitcoin here, put 0.5 Bitcoin here. You know what I mean? Just in case there's someone's trying to cut in front of the order and just clean up house. Or you can just do whatever you want. Like you can buy it here, or you can wait for it to bounce, and then when it has a pullback, buy that pullback, because there's always a pullback. You know. But this area kind of matches up with the first week. I don't want to think like that. This area here, it follows that uptrend line. This will be support. You know, this thing I don't think will just break on the first hit. So if we're looking straight down, you know, we could go as low as 78 to, I'd say, 8,400, somewhere around this zone. I think you'll see wicks, you'll see a bounce. A lot of people are playing it, and since they kind of coincide with each other, I think this will be a really strong area to re-enter in. You know, just this one area right here, where the line is and where this gap is. Because usually, whenever there's a price gap, basically you have to look at it as like, if I filled this up with water, would it pour out? If I filled this up with water, would it pour out? If I put water here and here at this level, would it pour out? You know, if I put water at this level, it won't hold, it'll fall, right? So that's kind of what the gap is. Like, there's another one here. No, this one we filled. So basically, if you were to turn this upside down and you poured water from the top or the bottom, it would kind of hold it at this level. If the water can't, if you pour water in this gap and it can't hold that price level, that usually means it's gonna fall. So from here, like, if you got rid of gravity and you poured it up with water, the water would not go lower than 29.71. But if you had poured water here, there's no, from the pouring water into here or pouring water into here can't bring it up to fucking, you know, 8,400, 8,500, this area. This is what the purpose of the gap is, right? So you have to look at the price as almost like water, and if it can't hold it, then that's, to me, is considered a gap. And this is a gap here. There's no way you could fill this up with water, any area. Either if you flip this upside down here and here and get the water here, it would spill over. It would spill over. So this is one of those things in the market that just play itself out over and over. And a lot of people know this, a lot of smart traders know this, and they're actually your best entries. If you have a lot of patience, you can chart coins and find gaps everywhere and just leave your bids there. There's gaps on ADA, there's gaps on Verge, you know, there's gaps on all these fucking coins that people FOMO into and they don't understand. Like, you know, yeah, okay, you want to chase it, play a little bit of your bid, but like, if you really believe in the long-term vision of that fucking coin, like, your bid should be at the gap and you should be enjoying your life, you know? So this is where I feel like if we can't hold 10,000, we will come to this zone and test it. And if we're not able to hold that as well, we will fill this one gap. No, not there. This has been filled from here. The gap was here, 4,900. You know, so these two zones, and these are the two zones I'm looking at if we break 10K. And just judging by the wicks, you know, before we were wicking up and we were staying above this level, 13,127, but now we're not. Now we're kind of breaking through it. And that's why I think we're most likely probably going to see a little bit of downside. What else did I want to look at? There was that line, and there was another one here, I believe. Yeah, this was the other one. This is when we broke through here, there was a new trend line, and we bounced off that, and that's where the bounce came. And I apologize, I knew about this trend line before. However, when I had done my analysis with Bitcoin and my fibs, and I was saying that 14, if we don't hit 14, we're gonna look at 12. This one, I should have had this on there. What happened is when the dump happened the other day, I had looked through some coins like Zcash, and I saw huge gaps, like massive gaps, and I put alerts on all of those. And then when we did hit this line, I have the cash register machine. Every time an alert is going off for me for an entry, I have a cash register entry. And just, we bounced off this line, and all I heard was cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. And right away I market ordered, you know. I got back in, and it turned out to be a good bounce. But from here on, I'm looking at, and just to keep it, just to lay it out here, September 14th. You draw it from September 14th, and then you draw it above to November 8th. That's where the line moves up to. And the interesting thing about that line is, and I was kind of anticipating what we're dealing with, is we broke out of that line at 9,000. We went up to 11,400. Then we broke that line, but you see the candles on the daily, they still closed above it. So I was expecting kind of this aggressive move in some sense, that just like how we bounced above it here, the next day we came back down, and then we came above it, and then we rejected the line, and then we started looking for continuation. So I'm expecting us, if we can't stay back up above 13,000, we basically need to stay above 13,200 and close the day consecutively around this line. If we can't really close that line, I'm looking at us playing a lower range. That was the line right there. So I'm expecting something like this to play out also, where the price comes down here, it shakes out more people, right? And once we hit 9,900 area again, I can see a lot of buyer support bringing it up, and that would bring us up here, and then Christmas would be here, and then there would just be a lot of this corner pressure, and maybe we break this descending wedge. That's that's the bullish scenario. The bullish scenario is we break here, we come up above it, and then we break out of this ascending wedge and try to come up to that 17,000 area. That would play out the same pattern as here. It was like a double shakeout. We drop, but if you look, the volume coming in afterwards was fairly good, but so far, like, look at all this dump, and then the day afterwards, that's all we had. That's all the volume. Like, that's not even half the candle, so it doesn't really look good. Like, this line is the average volume, and we closed way below it, where over here we consistently had 2 days above it. So the volume is telling me a lot. This is a lot of sell volume, sell volume. So yeah, I'm leaning more towards of this pattern playing out, and then from there, you got to see how we close. If we're able to close above this line, then the trend is still in place. If we can't get above this line and we start to reject it around here, around 1142, yeah, if you're a shorter, you might want to start shorting it here, opening up a short. It's more risky shorting it from here. You'd probably be better shorting it up here. But yeah, that's the bullish scenario. Bullish scenario, come down and close above it. Bearish scenario, come down, reject it. And then this 8,000 area, this line, this other parabola line, and see if we can maintain that support. I'm pretty confident over here we're going to have some strong support. Now, can we maintain it? That's to be seen. And then if that doesn't hold, then this gap eventually will get filled. These moves might take a week or two. Depends on how everything works out. But yeah, that's basically the TA I have for you guys. Oh, one more thing is, look, a lot of times in crypto in general, we break out and then we come and we retest. Okay? Over here, it hasn't been retested. Over here, it hasn't been retested. But previous resistance, we always come back and have to test it for support. We didn't really do that at this 1,284 area, around the 1,000s. We never really tested it from the top, So I'm not gonna say we're gonna go to $1,000. However, keep in mind that we never tested 1,000 from the top. There's a lot of volume at 1,000, a lot of support. and so much new liquidity came into the market over here that whoever bought here, I would say like 90% of them will get shaken out if we go to 1,000. And for institutional investors that maybe have caused this with shorting, this would get their dicks hard because they can fucking buy so much Bitcoin at $1,000 and accumulate it again, you know? Because over here was accumulation. This whole area, when Bitcoin was doing jack shit, you know what I mean? This was accumulation, this $200 range, you know? There's a good chance that a lot of this was accumulated, and then it started to rally. This is when the general public got interested. But this zone here, if you're a big billionaire, if you're an institutional investor, right? You have money. Like, you don't need to fucking make money to go pay for your Whole Foods groceries like next week. You know what I mean? Like, you have enough money to retire. Just money's just a game you play. And they have no problem for 2 years accumulating this, you know? And that's what it is. Like, this is 2 years of accumulation. And that 2-year investment now is probably the best money they've ever spent in their life, you know? They got it, they pumped it, they do what they do to get ETFs and futures and all that shit to get their institutional money involved. Then they use clients' money and they short the market. And they can keep shorting the market. And they've been selling off here, they've been selling off here, they've been selling off here, they've been selling off here. They control the market. Like, they sell, and then there's too much floating coins, which causes a downtrend, and then they pick it back up. And we've never tested 1,000 from the top, you know? So this line doesn't hold, and this line doesn't hold, I would confidently say we're probably just going to go here, you know? And that's good for you, because in the short term, it's not going to be good. In the long term, it's going to be great if you start accumulating with these guys again, because this thing will do bigger cycles. It's just, when you look at the space right now, I mean, if Bitcoin dies, by die I mean go to this level, and the market cap flows into other shit like Ethereum, then it's good for crypto. However, if all the other cryptos are going down with Bitcoin, it's not a good thing, because then it's like, well, what happens to all these projects and all this progress that we made throughout the year? Does it goes on hold, or what happens? So if along these ways we start to see like Ethereum start to go up and up and up and up and take over that market share, it's a good sign for crypto. However, from what I've seen, the alts have not really been too affected Satoshi wise. However, I think if we break this line, we'll start to see alts dump too, because this will be a different kind of panic. Like, people that do TA and people that trade understand like shakeouts or whatnot from this point. But if it breaks down here, there's like people that think like, oh, this continuation move is definitely over. So we'll see what happens there. But we might get a bounce here. Complacency, right? I'm still looking for complacency in the market. Bounce here, complacency, and then eventually, boom, we can potentially bottom out here. These two areas are gap areas. These two areas I'm expecting support, and you just got to take it from there. I think I've covered everything else. Volume profile, it's you get it with the pro version of TradingView, and it just tells you how much volume it came there, and it can give you a good sense of where to expect support. 10,000, we had a lot of buys at 10,000. We had a lot of buys around 8,000. We had a shitload of buys around 5,900 and 4,400. So this gap might go all the way down to 4,000, 4,500 instead of 4,800. We might fill it by touching this zone area. And yeah, just remember what I said about preserving your capital, because if you have like fucking 100, 200K right now, and you're trying to get in, get out, chase it, so and so, and you're going like 100K, 93,000, and then you're at 80,000K, you're not doing yourself a service. You know what I mean? Just chill out, wait, and place a bid here. Chill out, wait, and place a bid here. You know, like see how it reacts to what I'm saying. But this descending wedge, if it takes us all the way down here, I think we'll get a nice breakout and potentially go sideways and see what happens from there. Yeah, guys, and also Merry Christmas to everybody. I am going to share a new edition. It's going to be a good one. I'm going to put in the premium group of signals and education, and I have 2 other videos that were passed on to me that I'm going to be adding. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. All right, guys, take care and enjoy your holidays.